A group of friends were enjoying a night at their cabin sitting around a campfire when one of them took this photo of a friend who had fallen asleep. But he didn't realize what he may have captured more than just his friend. In the background of the picture, a blurry, ghostly face appears to be visible. The uploader admitted they had no idea what the image actually showed. Some viewers believe it could be something paranormal. Others argue it's simply pareidolia, the human tendency to see faces in random shapes and shadows. So what do you see? And could it really be something paranormal? A homeowner in South Carolina was jolted awake one night by unsettling noises echoing outside. Instead of venturing into the dark, he checked his porch security camera and was met with this. The noises weren't ordinary animal calls he had heard before. He uploaded the clip thinking he had captured something unusual. But with sounds like these, it could still be any animal, though some commenters thought it might be a werewolf. While staying at a VRBO rental in Gloucester, TikTok user Arsenic Peroxide made a disturbing discovery. According to the post, the two were simply walking around the property one summer day, exploring the area surrounding the house. As they moved through the grass, something unusual caught their attention on the ground. At first, it looked like a small stick or piece of debris, but when they looked closer, the shape appeared disturbingly familiar. Lying in the grass was what looked like a decayed human finger. Some viewers believed it really could be a severed finger. Others suggested it simply might be an old root, a bone fragment, or even animal remains. Either way, it was a creepy sight. A Reddit user lived alone on a quiet farm in Roberts Creek, Canada, miles away from anyone else. One night, he stepped outside into the pitch-black woods just to use the bathroom. Suddenly, deep in the trees ahead, a blinking, flashing light appeared, almost as if it were watching him. He rushed inside to grab his phone, half expecting the light to vanish. But when he returned, it was still there. His 3 dogs were outside as well, yet they didn't bark or react. He was too afraid to go check, so sadly, he never did find out. A mother took a selfie from outside their cabin while her child stood inside. At first glance, everything seemed normal, until you notice the dark shadow looming over the child. It appears to resemble the head and shoulders of a person. The mother shared the photo online, explaining that the child is often heard talking to someone in their room when alone. When asked who it is, the child simply points to a corner, though nothing is ever seen. Could this shadow be some kind of paranormal presence attached to the child? Maybe a kid's imagination isn't always just imagination. This strange footage convinced millions of viewers that someone might be trapped inside an abandoned home. The clip showed a boarded-up house in Plainfield, Illinois, where porch lights blinked repeatedly in a pattern many people believed resembled an SOS distress signal in Morse code. The house appeared completely sealed, with boarded windows and no visible signs of anyone living there. The eerie flashing lights quickly sparked panic online, with viewers urging others to contact authorities, fearing someone inside might be trying to signal for help. Police eventually responded to the property multiple times, but found no evidence that anyone was inside or in danger. Later, the homeowners themselves stepped forward and revealed an explanation.
I am the daughter of the property owners. I am very intimately aware with this.
According to them, the mysterious lights were small solar-powered fixtures that had malfunctioned, causing them to blink randomly.
If you look up some stuff about solar panels, they do have SOS functions on them.
They even recorded a tour of the house showing that no one was inside. But even with that explanation, some people still aren't convinced. So what do you think? Was it really just a set of malfunctioning lights, or was something else going on inside that home? TikTok creator The Chase Allen 3 was browsing cabins online when she came across something strange. The property, located in Statesville, North Carolina, appeared to be a fairly normal listing on Zillow. But when she looked more closely at one of the photos, something unusual appeared in a window. Inside the dark room stood what looked like a pale figure staring out from behind the glass. It didn't really look human either, it had no colour, and its face looked slightly distorted. Is it just another marketing stunt? With this place, I don't feel like it is. A driver travelling to his cabin along a remote forest road late at night captured a chilling moment. While passing through the dark wooded area, the person suddenly heard this. For a moment, the driver considered getting out to investigate what was making the sound. But something about the situation felt wrong. He was completely alone in the middle of the forest, so he decided it was safer to stay inside the car and keep driving. Later, viewers online began debating what the noise could have been. Some suggested it may have come from wildlife. Certain animals, especially mountain lions, are known to produce screams that can sound shockingly similar to a human voice. Still, hearing something like that in the middle of a dark forest would be enough to make anyone uneasy. A man living in Sasebo, Japan, spent his free time exploring off-trail mountain areas, hunting for old bottles, ceramics, and relics from World War II. The region is scattered with abandoned coal mines dating from the late 1800s to the 1940s, so stumbling across historical sites wasn't unusual. But one discovery changed everything. One time, he came across a partially collapsed mine portal atop a mountain. Inside, he noticed tripod bags and a suitcase filled with camera cables, but no camera. He left, thinking it was abandoned gear, only to return and find, about 50 feet away, a Sony HDV Handycam from 2008, perfectly dry and wrapped in plastic. Back at the mine entrance, he found another suitcase buried in dirt and rocks. The camera wouldn't turn on without a battery, leaving the tape locked inside. Why would someone hide a camera so carefully? Maybe someone filmed something they didn't want anyone to see, then hid the evidence where they thought no one would ever find it. What was on the tape was never revealed. Maybe that's for the best. A woman was at her cabin one night when she wanted to record a video of her dog. But when she opened the camera, something terrifying appeared on her phone. A dark shadow was standing in the open doorway. When she looked up, the space was completely empty. Panicked, she called a friend on a video call, and that's when it got even stranger. The person on the other end could see the figure too. She posted the clip online, and commenters believed it was a shadow person. No one truly knows their origin or why they appear. Do you believe in such a thing? On July 2nd, 1948, a 23-month-old boy named Daniel Collier mysteriously vanished while staying with his family near Cooser State Park in Somerset County, Pennsylvania. The family had rented a small mountain cottage in the wooded area, hoping to enjoy a quiet summer getaway. That afternoon, Donald was outside playing near the cabins with his parents and older brother. Then, in what seemed like only a moment, he was gone. At first, the family believed the toddler had simply wandered a short distance away. But after searching the immediate area and calling his name with no response, panic quickly set in. Within hours, a massive search operation began. More than 500 people, including police officers, firefighters, miners, and local volunteers, spread out across the rugged hills and dense forests surrounding cottages. Search teams moved through the woods while aircraft flew overhead, scanning the area for any sign of the missing child. As the days passed, the search grew increasingly difficult. Heavy rainstorms swept through the mountains, washing away possible clues and forcing crews to pause their efforts. Days turned into weeks, yet no clear sign of Donald Collier was ever found. With no answers, rumors began spreading through the community. Some people believed the child may have been taken by a wild animal. Others feared a possible abduction. But none of these theories ever produced real evidence. In the end, despite one of the largest search efforts the region had ever seen, Donald Collier simply vanished, leaving behind a haunting mystery that still raises the same chilling question. How can a toddler disappear so completely in the span of just a few minutes? A man in New Jersey was viewing footage from his home security camera one night when something strange appeared. The camera, mounted high overlooking his property, detected movement and slowly panned down, capturing a figure moving on 4 legs. At first glance, it seemed like a dog, but the proportions were wrong. Almost as quickly as it appeared, the creature bolted into the woods, vanishing as if it had never been there. Some suggested it was just a large dog distorted by the camera angle in dim light, but others weren't convinced. Could it be the legendary Jersey Devil, or perhaps the elusive Dogman? A TikTok video posted by user Appalachia Decay quickly went viral after she tried to record something strange happening in the basement of her 200-year-old farmhouse. She originally went downstairs because she thought she was hearing rats moving around below the house. but when she reached the basement, she noticed a heavy door leading to a set of old stairs in the corner. According to the uploader, the entrance appeared sealed from both the inside and the outside, making it almost impossible for animals to get in or out. Yet the strange noises seemed to be coming from that exact spot. In a follow-up clip, she returned to the basement with her dog and opened the door, revealing only a narrow stairway leading upward.
I don't know.
In the end, nothing clearly paranormal was found, but the mystery of the sealed basement and the strange noises were never fully explained. A Reddit user shared a photo taken by his niece's daughter about 10 years ago while visiting an ex-boyfriend in Quincy, Illinois. The girl was lying on a couch, facing the backrest, when she suddenly felt like someone else was in the room with her. On impulse, she snapped a picture with her phone. But the moment she looked at the image, the atmosphere changed. In the background behind the couch, something strange appeared. Commenters were quick to call it a poorly made edit or a filter from a ghost photo app, pointing out that the lower half of the figure didn't match the normal lighting or shadows. And honestly, I agree. It looks fake. A couple was staying at their cabin, filming the peaceful surroundings of the forest. Everything seemed calm at first, until the man suddenly noticed something drifting behind the foliage. He zoomed the camera in and circled the area, pointing out what he believed was a large, hairy figure partially hidden between the trees. Then, suddenly, one of the trees nearby toppled over with a loud crash, startling both of them. The couple quickly backed away, unsure of what they had just witnessed.
Oh shit, no, okay.
Was it simply a weak tree finally giving way, or could something really have been out there in the forest that day, causing the tree to fall? In October 2019, 47-year-old Adrienne Ada Quintal was staying alone at her family's cabin near Honor, Michigan. In the early hours of October 17th, she made a frantic phone call to a friend. It was 2:34 a.m., and during the call, Ada claimed that someone was outside the cabin and that she had fired a gun at them. Alarmed, the friend contacted the police. When officers arrived at the remote cabin on Indian Hill Road, they discovered a strange and confusing scene. Ada was gone. Her boots and cell phone had been thrown onto the roof of the cabin, and her 9mm handgun was found lying on the ground outside. Investigators also found multiple bullet holes in the cabin's windows and ceiling, but all the shots appeared to have been fired from inside the cabin. Despite Ada's claim during the phone call, there was no blood, and no sign that anyone else had been injured or even present. Search teams quickly launched a massive effort around the wooded property. Tracking dogs, drones, helicopters, and thermal cameras were used to comb the surrounding forests and swamps. But the terrain around the cabin was thick, flooded, and extremely difficult to search. Weeks passed with no signs of her. Then, nearly 10 weeks later, Ada's family decided to search one particularly difficult area again, a swampy beaver pond several hundred yards from the cabin. Using a canoe, they began draining some of the water. As the water level dropped, something heartbreaking came into view. Ada's body was found submerged in about 3 feet of water, in the flooded pond not far from where she disappeared. Authorities later confirmed her identity through identifying marks, including scars and a tattoo. Investigators stated that no evidence of foul play was found, though the strange circumstances surrounding that night, including the frantic phone call and the bizarre scene inside the cabin, continue to leave many questions. How did she end up in the swamp so close to the cabin? And what really happened during those final moments inside the house that night? A man was out running errands when he received a motion alert from his home security camera. He opened the feed on his phone and saw this. A glowing object moved slowly around. What made the footage even stranger was the shadow it cast, long and oddly proportioned. There was no one else in the house at the time. The man suspects it might be some kind of entity, perhaps interdimensional, not bound by the usual rules of reality. Skeptics argue it could be a bug, a camera glitch, or a trick of the light. Guess we'll never know. An explorer was investigating an abandoned property deep in the woods when something terrifying happened. Inside a small, decaying cabin, they heard a scream that made them step back. Gathering courage, the explorer continued recording inside and caught this. A glimpse of a small creature. The creature seemed to silently warn the intruder to leave, and thankfully, the explorer did. Who knows what might have happened if they hadn't. Late one night, a homeowner heard eerie noises outside his windows. Grabbing his camera, he filmed through the darkness, trying to make sense of the sounds. That's when he saw a skinny humanoid figure moving through the distant woods. For the homeowner, what he captured was a glimpse of something unknown, something that felt both predatory and otherworldly, and it left him questioning just how much we understand about what lurks in the dark. But could it have been an animal, perhaps? Or a person? Or is it something we truly don't know? In June 2005, two lifelong friends, David Horsey and Frederick Hardesty, travelled to a small cabin in Naani National Park in the Northwest Territories, visiting a friend named Rod Gunderson. Both David and Frederick were experienced outdoorsmen from the nearby community of Fort Simpson and were very familiar with the rugged northern landscape. But something went terribly wrong. On June 16th, Rod returned to the cabin and noticed something unusual. The two men were gone. Inside the cabin, most of their belongings were still there. Food remained stocked, firewood was stacked nearby, and even their firearms had been left behind. There were small signs that fires had been burning nearby, but nothing clearly explained where the men had gone. Concern quickly spread, and on June 18th, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police launched a search of the surrounding wilderness. Teams combed the forests and riverbanks around the cabin. But after several days of searching, the official operation was called off on June 23rd, leaving family members and volunteers to continue looking on their own. Then, a few days later, the mystery deepened. On June 27th, David Horsey's body was discovered about 2.3 miles from the cabin. Investigators reported burns on his hands and arms, and his death was later attributed to hypothermia. But the story didn't end there. Nearly 2 weeks later, on July 8th, Frederick Hardesty's body was found floating in the North Naani River, more than 12 miles from the cabin. The discovery raised new questions, especially since that stretch of river had reportedly been searched earlier. Autopsies concluded that Frederick had drowned. Many people close to the men were not convinced the investigation had uncovered the full story. Family members and local First Nation communities raised concerns about how the case had been handled. Some witnesses even reported seeing gunshot marks on the cabin floor and damage to clothing that resembled a shotgun blast. These details fueled speculation that something more sinister may have happened before the men had died, but no definitive evidence was ever found to confirm those suspicions. To this day, the deaths of David Horsey and Frederick Hardesty remain one of the most unsettling mysteries connected to Naani National Park. Back in 2014, Reddit user Amphibian casually took a photo on an older iPhone while sitting with their family in a closed lounge room, just watching a movie on vacation. When they reviewed the photo, something chilling appeared in the background. Faintly, a pale but clear face seemed to float in the frosted glass of the door. Confused and frightened, they posted the photo online, hoping someone could help explain it. Some suggested technical explanations, image burn-in, superimposed frames, or an overheated sensor causing ghostly details to appear. Others thought it might be a simple reflection from a TV or a stray light source caught at a perfect angle. But the poster insisted they had tested all these possibilities. They couldn't recreate the effect, no matter the angle or lighting. So what does the photo really show? A family was home one night, just settling in after their father had been rushed to the hospital. They had barely locked the doors when something strange happened. The glass door to the backyard began rattling violently, as if someone or something was trying to force its way inside. When they looked outside, there was nothing but darkness. Not long after, the family received the devastating news that their father had passed away shortly after arriving at the hospital. What makes this experience unsettling is the timing. They believe the rattling was their father returning to say goodbye. Reddit user NoSchool7616 was at their parents' cabin when they caught something interesting on their trail camera. At first, they thought it was an animal, but when they zoomed in, it looked more like a person wearing a cape or cloak. They went to the spot to check, but found no sign that anyone had been there. When they posted it to Reddit, many people suggested it was probably just a moth on the lens. But still, you never know for sure. A Reddit user, DarkDemon13, took this photo years ago while investigating an old abandoned cabin in the woods. In the mirror, a blurry, ghostly face appears. The uploader explains the original intent was just to photograph the hallway, so the eerie face is an accidental detail that only became noticeable when zoomed in. The user and their teammates were all wearing red hoodies, and no one else was inside. Many people said it looked like a little girl. But what do you see in there? A woman walked into her chicken coop late at night to feed the birds, when her security camera captured a terrifying moment. At the far end of the coop, crouched low, was a figure that looked human, but something about it was unmistakably wrong. Some believe it could be a humanoid creature living in the wild, an escaped experiment, or just a distressed person. But since this clip hasn't gotten the attention it probably would have if it were real, I'm starting to think it might be fake. In Xinjiang, a local resident noticed something strange happening in the sky. The person filmed the spectacle, showing hundreds of birds twisting, turning and creating shapes that seemed almost choreographed. The patterns were unusually precise and synchronized. This wasn't the first time either. Since February 2023, similar occurrences had been reported. Ornithologists suggest it could be changes in migratory behavior, weather shifts, or instinctual responses to the environment, but locals can't help but wonder if there's something more mystical going on. Could these birds be sending a message through their patterns, or is it simply a rare natural phenomenon? Reddit user Takalino was sitting in his living room around 2:30 a.m. when the night became anything but quiet. Suddenly, a loud, eerie sound came from his backyard. A deep, heavy breathing-like noise that didn't match anything familiar. At first, he thought it might be his dog, but after checking, the dog was asleep and the sound continued.
Bro, this fucking skin.
He went to check and even recorded the strange noise coming from outside, but he saw nothing. Commenters suggested it could be animals like foxes making unusual calls. Although it was probably just wildlife, I can imagine how frightening it must have been if you'd never heard a sound like that before. A woman in North Carolina was out walking her dog through the neighborhood. As she passed the edge of the forest, deep, guttural noises began echoing from the trees. The sounds were unlike anything she'd ever heard, almost primal. Locals say this happens every year between late January and February, calling it Bigfoot season, linking the noises to possible sightings of the elusive creature. Others say it's just owls, coyotes, or other wildlife, but locals are sure these sounds aren't like anything they know. A Reddit user shared some unsettling security footage captured in 2020. The camera caught something moving across a neighbor's yard, just after 2:30 in the morning. At first glance, it looked like a person, but the figure was enormous, easily towering over the 10-foot-high camera. It moved slowly, almost too deliberately. It was emerging from a thick forest that most locals avoid, because it's full of wildlife like coyotes and bears. Neighbors insist no one from the area would be out there at that hour, so it was wandering through that yard in the dead of night. In a small Indonesian village, a group of terrified villagers captured footage of something truly unsettling. While returning from the mosque, they spotted a humanoid figure perched on top of a house. Skeptics said it was a prank or a person behaving strangely, but there's something about the reflection of its eyes in the flashlight that doesn't seem human. The clip remains mysterious. For more scary cabin encounters, watch this next video.